Welcome to the MisFit podcast. I'm your host, Laksh Sarsel, and in episode 1, you're meeting the host.
I've got plenty dirty laundry here, it won't disappear. Made some bad decisions, now I wanna hide away. Heavy, I can feel the fear. The Cupid's getting bored in here. Sometimes when I shed a tear, jumped off when I...
So one of the things you may ask me is what sparked my interest in podcasting? And the answer to that is actually a fragmented answer with multiple points that I want to touch on. The first thing is, due to my extensive professional background, I feel I can bring a unique voice to the journey of professionals and explore how they got to where they are. For me, for example, I have a sale in entrepreneurship. I've had multiple startups. I've been a what's called a vulture funder, where you essentially become a holdings company and invest in dying companies to bring them back. I've run a marketing agency. I'm also was a professional artist, a whole bunch of stuff. So I can conflate and contrast both my logical side and my creative side to provide a very unique perspective to things. So with this, I guess the desire to start a podcast was born, as I think my unique insight can be quite interesting to listen to and sort of explore in a more refined sort of format, apart from like conversations, etc. It's a good way for me to have an impact with my voice as well. The vision for this podcast is actually to explore the journey of professionals and see how they got to where they were, or where they are, I should say, and also cover my own professional experience and explore how I got to where I was, and sort of touch on contemporary events, etc. The topics that we will cover most frequently, as you can probably tell, is the professional landscape. Also, we will be covering the professional journey, so from things like starting a company to crowdfunding, all of that type of stuff, and also creative professional work, which I think doesn't actually get covered as much as other sorts of professional work. So I sort of want to touch on all of them throughout the series. For example, episode 2 with Angel covers a bit of modeling, etc. And yeah, just sort of explore all of that sort of stuff as well. However, as today's episode is focused on meeting the host, myself, I will provide a brief summary of my life and in particular my professional background. So the very first thing that I started with was actually being an artist. At the age of, I want to say 8 or 9 years old, I started entering art competitions. I was heavily supported by my teachers in school, but yeah, I started entering art competitions and developed as an artist. At some point throughout the journey, I started selling my artwork and doing freelance art as well. Freelance art is very good in terms of income. It's just very unpredictable. You might have 20 clients, have to meet all of their deadlines by the end of the fortnight, for example, 1 week or one fortnight, I should say. And then the next month you might not have any clients. It's just how it sort of goes. There's no way you can even really be on a retainer either, because as a freelance artist, there's no sort of, I guess, role or industry where you would need an artist regularly. Like, apart from maybe advertising, marketing, or content creation, which is what I am doing now. So that was where I started. I took the money from being an artist and started day trading once I was old enough. So day trading is good. It's a high risk venture. You can definitely lose all of your money very quickly, but you can also make a lot of money very quickly using proper risk management strategies, etc. The cap for your earning potential is basically non-existent. So I made a very healthy amount of money there, and then realized I really don't need the stress and volatility. I also can't be glued to my phone 24/7. Day trading is one of those things where you need to be glued to your computer or your phone to make sure your buy and stop losses are set at the right time, or you might have miscalculated or misread one of the graphs, and in fact you need to set your stop point a lot higher than it currently is set, so you need to be able to monitor all of those things in real time. So I switched from day trading, where I think overall my account saw a 50, it saw a total growth of about 122% compared to my starting funds to where I finished. Actually, it's probably a little bit more. I'll put the numbers up on the screen so you guys generally know. I don't know if I'll divulge how much I lost, how much I made, etc. But a rough indicator of like the exacts of how much I actually profited day trading. So from there, I realized stocks was definitely a good way to manage your money, I would say. By manage, I mean it's a lot better than having all of your cash sit in a savings account, in my opinion. Because on a savings account, on the higher end, your return is about 5%. Trading, what I do now is I have it invested in index funds. Average return is 12% per annum. If you even calculate based on 10%, it is an extremely, extremely lucrative and profitable endeavor. So then from there, we went on to trying my first startup per se. So actually starting a company. The company I started was Management by Sarcel. It was a social media marketing agency. Social media is probably a very loose description. It was a marketing agency. We promoted anywhere and everywhere. Coming from being an artist and day trading, it was an avenue where you could have a stable income finally, because as a marketing agency, you can have your clients be put onto a monthly retainer, etc. So that's where I started making consistent income, I would say. So starting Management by Sarcel, the biggest thing was that I had no experience in running a business or anything of sort. So I did just sort of dive straight into the deep end. Because as an agency, you need contractors. If you want to go down the employment route, you can have employees instead of contractors. I preferred running my agency extremely lean in terms of my balance sheets, etc. So I didn't have employee costs. I only had contractor costs. The reason I preferred contractors was because it allowed me to manage the performance of everyone a lot better. So social media marketing agency. So when you start it up, or when I started it up, the very first thing is getting clients. So you need to be able to network. Excuse me. You need to be able to network, meet business owners to be able to have the conversation and propose your business to, because if you're just cold calling, doing email outreach, even if you get like a cold call service to help you, you need about, and I tried it, I would say you get 0.01% success rate. So after 10,000 emails, you're going to get one client. Out of those 10,000, you might get 10 inquiries, but because you have no sort of track record yet, most of your answers are going to be no. The next thing is you need an extremely polished website. So even though you have no history, etc., you need an extremely polished website. So that was step 2. So step 1 was I made all the relationships, etc. Step 2 was I sort of built my website. That took about, I'll be honest, it probably took a week. I didn't really know how to use the website builder, etc. So it was a learning process and learning curve. Then after that, we needed to, so I had one client at this point, and it was a complete gamble. So I gave him a week free. In that week, I did 21,000 impressions in a very niche market. So 21,000 impressions. That was without any sort of paid aspect or paid advertising attached to it. So just complete organic sort of traffic. So upon this, I signed my first client. He then referred me to 6 of his friends, out of which I ended up signing 2. And I ended up, to grow faster, I started offering discounted rates for if they got a friend to join. So if, let's say for example, I've ex-client named John gets his friend to join, he would get a 50% discount on next month's retainer, which in turn ended up meaning I could grow a lot faster. So now we had stable income from the marketing agency. What I needed to do was automate it. So to automate it, I ended up hiring, she was originally a contractor, but I ended up hiring my current manager who manages all of the things with Management by Sarcel, especially the actual marketing agency side of things, because since then we started doing we transitioned, or I guess expanded the Management by Sarcel business to also be a holdings company. So when companies were about to go solvent or claim bankruptcy, etc., we would invest and buy a large share in the business. In return, they would also get free advertising from Management by Sarcel. So their essential business valuation, which was tanked due to them being very close to bankruptcy, would then skyrocket, and you would end up raising the company's evaluation by a ridiculous amount. So that entrepreneur would get to keep their company. I also get to increase the client list of Management by Sarcel, etc. So that was the next sort of self-employed thing that I did. And now, in the current time, we have both aspects of those businesses completely self-managed. So that all gets put into a trust. After which, we are now exploring a new stream of revenue, which is content creation, which is what I'm doing now. So we're trying, you've seen the vlogs. I'm doing the podcast with you guys. So yeah, a little bit of fun. Content creation, I think I landed on in partial as well to improve my own, I would say, speaking skills and my ability to be able to communicate proficiently. So being in sales, let me recap. Let's go back quickly, just so it's a more linear thought process. So now that I'm focusing on content creation, the reason is so that because we've explored all of my self-employed ventures, I do also still work full-time. The reason being, I think the experience is invaluable. It also teaches you a lot of things about running a business, etc. So what I do in terms of being employed is sales, and content creation can do a lot in terms of your speaking and communication ability. So the reason I started the podcast, one of the reasons actually, is to improve my speech in general. That includes things like pronunciation of words, stuttering, developing a more linear sort of train of thought. If you've seen the interview with Angel, for example, that was a lot more all over the place. So having this sort of practice is crucial because it allows me to be a lot more persuasive when I talk, which is a skill you need in sales, you need in business, you need in basically every aspect of your life. So once I had sort of realized this was an area I wanted to work on, I dived straight into content creation. So alongside being an entrepreneurial sort of venture, it is also a self-improvement venture. So I'm focusing on improving my vernacular, improving my speech as well. And when I say speech, because I've said it a couple of times, I mean things like when I communicate, how effectively am I coming across? How effective is the language I'm using? How clear is my voice? How animated I am with my hands, because that's part of actually speaking. Using your hands to illustrate your point. There's also things like subtle body language as well. So this was my intentions for content creating. As you know, it's very early on. We haven't really started advertising too intensely yet, but we will see. I'm enjoying it quite a lot at the moment. So vlog 1 went up, I think, a couple of days ago at this point, and it's doing, I would say, relatively well, considering we haven't really pushed or promoted it anywhere. Like, it's done okay. And the YouTube account it's posted on, it's been dead for, I would say, a good 12 months probably. So yeah, we will see how the content creation goes. This is your host, Laksh Sarsel, and this was a brief introduction to myself, and we will see where things go from here. See you guys.